In last video we talked about error handling, then we also saw some questions on error handling as well. So far we have talked about functions, error handling, conditional statements, loops, where we mainly talked about two loops, a for loop and while loop. Then we talked about strings, search algorithms, both linear and binary. We also talked about tuples and list. Now let's just talk about file handling in Python. In this video we are going to talk about file handling in Python. So what does file handling means? So if you suppose you have a text file, you can just uh, use Python code to interact with that file. You can read, write, or extract data from that file. So let's just start our file handling tutorial. So in almost every real world problem, you will need to deal with files at some point. saving uh, saving users data, or reading a config file, or writing a file, writing logs, writing details about a customer, exporting a report, and you can do all of these things in Python, and it's pretty easy to do in Python with already built-in operations. You can so when uh, you can open a file using an inbuilt operator called open. It will help you to open a file, and when you open a file you tell Python two things, which is a file name file name, here an extension as well. Then the second thing you tell Python is the mode in which you want to open your file. So what did I mean by mode is that what you want to do in this file. You have to tell the compiler that what you want to do with this file. For example, I want to write data in this file. So this is how you will open a file. Mainly there are three type of modes in which you can open your file. First is read, write, and append. What does they do? Read, only read. You can only read the data, you can't make any change. If you tried, it will throw an error that read mode doesn't allow you to do these changes. Then there comes the write mode. Write mode is used to write in the file. Uh, One more thing, if file doesn't exist, for example, here we are using a file name.txt, but file name.txt doesn't exist here. So if I run this code, it will automatically create a new file with file name.txt. With write, there is also another thing which you have to keep in mind, and that is uh, that whenever you use write function, first it will delete all the uh, data present in that file, and you are always uh, start writing you will always start writing in an empty file. Remove all data file first. First it will remove all the data, then you will start writing. But what happen if you wants to write you also want to include that previous data in your current file? So you will use append. You have seen the append in list as well, so you are kind of familiar with this word. Append do all the things just like the write function, but the only thing is it does not remove the previous data. So we can say it keeps the previous data. So these three are the main modes. After that there are also read, write, append and read. But for basically there are only three uh, modes you can open a file in. You can also write, read, but we are going to talk about them a bit later. Currently we are only going to see some basics. So there are also some other important things. So there is some whenever you open a file, you should close it when you are done with the file. Otherwise you will risk losing all the uh, file content. You can lock a file using file.close. So now your file is closed and changes are saved. It's something like how in SQL you would do it to save the changes, or in C language you initialize a pointer, but at the end of the code you also have to free that pointer to prevent any kind of leak. You can do this manually, uh, especially if an error happens before you get to the line. There is why Python give us the with statement. We also have a with statement, which is an inbuilt statement. It automatically uh, what it with statement do, it automatically closes our file for us once we are done with our uh, task. So even if an error happens in between, there is called a context manager, and you should always use with while working with the files. With is much better than writing close manually. And honestly, you not even a single case you would need to write close, where if there is any case when you have to choose writing manually close upon the with, there you would never face such a incident. So now let's just talk about writing part. Let's just talk about the how we can read a file. To read a file, we have a function called dot read, which is used to read the file. As you see, what does it do? It grabs the entire file. It grabs the entire file at once. But what happens if you don't need an entire file? You need some certain lines, or So then we have something called read line. Dot read line. What does dot read line do? It just grab one line at a time as in string. In read it will get the whole file at once as a string, not as an object. As a string it will get the whole file. So read line will get one line at a time. Then there is also read lines. So now you know about read and read line. So think how what would be read line? Read lines have to be something in between those two. So what does read lines do? Read lines grab every line as a list of strings, and when you are going to loop through a file, you can actually just loop directly over the file object line by line. It's going to be cleaner and much more uh, memory efficient. So uh, let's just take an example of a code and see how we can do it. Let me just this thing as well. Let's just say with open, give our file name a file name. So we are calling it first file dot txt. And first, because our file doesn't exist till now, we have to open it in a write mode. We are going to use, now we are not going to use file.txt name, we are going to use file to represent file here. So we can directly say file dot write, and you can write anything here. So let's just say we are writing some numbers. So once you came back to this alignment with v and outside this function, the file will automatically close. You don't need to write a dot close here. Now we have to read it. So let's just write the function again. Let me just copy this line. So here you can see now we have to open it in a read mode. Or first thing that I forgot to tell you, if you want, you also need to add /n. Let's just make 2 entries here so we have something to loop around. So now we have 2 lines. I can show you here a reading with a loop. So for I in file dot read lines, and you don't need to write read lines, you can just say file. Now you have to write print I dot strip. That's all you have to do. Now you can run this file. And what we have done in this function, first we use w mode, which will create the file. If the file already exists, it will clean that file. Then we write this content in that file. After that, we are opening that file again, this time in read mode. So let's just run it. Python 3 file.py. So now you can see we have got our result from the print statement. Print statement got that result from file, and how file that got that content, like from here. If you look here right now you will see that there exists a file. How this file came here? Because we use the write function, sorry, write mode. Now you can see the data already exists here, and you can create data here as well. So now I have added some more data. So what we have done here is we were looping directly over the file object, read it one line at a time, which is great for big files. Then we used a dot strip that removes trailing new lines, like for slash you won't get things such as slash, and the line will automatically change. And there are three different ways to pull content. There are three different ways to pull content from out of a file, depending on how you want to work with it. So we have seen the read. Let's just go with other functions as well. We have to write the same thing. File, let's just read. Then all text will be equals to file dot read. So if you see, I'm just copy. Now I'm going to show you that file line. Let me change the variable line as well. So we have talked about how find lines and dot read lines and dot read will work, but I forgot to tell you that read line will always take the first line from the file. Like here we have the first line is this, which is 1 to 10. So the first line should hold value from 1 to 10. Then there is read lines. And this is how you can read file in all of the ways. So these are the ways to pull content out of a file. It totally depends on how you want to do. And there is one more thing, like such as we have already talked about error handling. So you can easily integrate these things with error handling. How you can integrate, like for example, we first made a file, but what happen if I try to read a file which does not exist? So terminal will throw an error, but I can even use error handling function as that. For example, I'm using, let me just do all this thing inside a function. Function will take a name. This name will be a string. So now I'm writing try with open as file for I in file. So now here if you see, I use try and expect, which is a file not found error. We have already talked about these error messages. Such in last video we talked about error messages like zero divisor and invalid value. Here is also one which is file not found. So if any error occurred in this code block, then instead of executing this one, our code will shift to this block, which is where it will print that this value does not exist. So this is how you can integrate like our previous topics. Here we used function, we used try and expect, we also used error handling. Now we have also used file handling here. So this is how you can integrate all of these things, and and this is really a very common real world pattern. Try to read a file, if it's missing, create it instead of crashing. And with it, now you can read a file and write. So let's just zoom out, and I have some practice questions for you. I'm going to paste those questions here. Give it some time, then I will show you them their answer. After the answer, we also have some extra uh, practice questions. So after those practice questions, please give some time to those questions as well. Hope you all have gave some time to the questions I just showed you, which are these questions. So these 10 questions are there. I have given very basic questions, which is very basic, such like uh, creating and reading a file. So I don't think I need to explain each one of them individually, but I will show you the answer key, so you know that you have done things in a right way. If you just keep integrating the our current topic with previous topics, you can easily do this. If you are done with these questions, we also have some other questions for you as well. I will show those questions at the end of the video. You will also get answer key for those questions, but let's just do and recap what we have done till now and how this thing related to how everything is related together. So for example, here now you know that when we use readline, what it does, it create a list of strings. So we have talked about list. So now you know, after getting all the data in this, all the text variable, what how you can deal with it, you already know that. And inside that list, what we have strings, and you already know about strings as well, so you can deal with strings too. Now what happen if file does not exist? Our code will crash, but to save our code from crashing, we also know about error handling. We we learn about error handling as well. Then if we have to repeat one certain code block again and again, for example this code block, maybe we have to keep on writing and reading the file, then how we can save our time with it? So you can put all of these things inside a function. We have learned about a function as well, if you see. And now if you can, inside this with open you can also use conditional statements. We are already using a loop here. As you can see, we have also talked about loops. So if you see, all of these things are related, and the things we will do in future are also going to be related as well. I think we have forgot about the dictionary part, but we will also talk about dictionary and basic operations and base, and we will also see where we need to use dictionary, such as frequency count is one of the best example where you have to use dictionary, and dictionary are pretty helpful there. So now I'm going to show you the extra practice questions. Please give some time to them as well.